Hello everybody and welcome to Cause Effect, a show about Vetus. Today we are going to talk to you guys about action managing and how to utilize your resources and actions. And later on we will discuss the card Enkil Cog. But first of all, I would like to introduce you guys to my co-hosts. This is Adam Esbjörnsson. Say hello.
Hello.
And of course, Isak Esbjörnsson Bjärmark. Hello.
Hi, hello, etc.
Yes. And my name, of course, is Anders Löv. It's right there under my name.
Yes.
My name tag.
I can change that.
Or love you.
Okay. So, before we dig into this day's exciting topic, as always, I would like to ask you guys, how has your Vetus week been, Adam?
It's been great. Let's see. I'm starting to try out decks for Denmark. I'm going to Denmark for the EC and the ECQ and the National Championship there. I started trying out a few decks and optimizing them, and I feel really good about them. Only bad part is I don't know which one of them to choose.
Okay. Can you give any hints? What are you going to kick ass? The Danish ass with?
No.
Chicken.
Outing yourself before a tournament on a TV program is probably not a good idea.
I might play Limitation Weenie.
You might not. Okay. So, Zach, how has your week been then? Is it less secretive?
Yes and no. Since we were to the same pub game, where Adam won 2 games and 1 game got the table split between Adam and another guy. I did manage to try the decks, but mostly just not trying, like just playing defensively and losing massively. But I managed to sort and count like maybe 10,000 cards this weekend. That's my life.
That it's now or never.
Yes. And you, Anders? How you been?
Yeah, as usual, I'm right in the middle of a project, so I don't have any time to play, which is sad.
Not even Champion Horse?
Not even the Semblin Horse Keystone Kind deck.
That's a shame.
But next week, probably, I will have some time over. It's gonna be awesome.
Great. Another thing related to Vetus week, maybe we should just mention that we managed to convince Johannes Walsh, the chairman of the Beacon, to come on to the show and participate in an interview concerning the Beacon and the structure and such for next week.
Yeah, so you can send in if you have any questions or thoughts to Johannes, you can send them in to our email or post them at our Facebook page or post them in the Veken post which we made earlier. So it's just go nuts and we will try to get as much as we can fit it into the show.
And try to make it as informative and journalistic as humanly possible.
We'll try to roast Johannes thoroughly.
Yeah.
You make it sound so physical.
Yeah.
Sorry.
We will not be raping anybody on air.
Why would you suggest that?
I mean, roast. No, I don't.
My God,
Okay.
Anders.
Let's just go on.
Yes, please.
So, we're going to talk about action managing and how to utilize your resources and actions. And you guys actually made some kind of synopsis of percentage of actions taken during the Ropecon final of 2009, I believe. You can just show the viewers what you have done.
Maybe we can talk about where we. It's been what's it called?
Transcribed?
Put together from a transcription that was really good. It's only because of a transcription like this that we are actually managed to do do this statistic thing. But I'll bring it up.
If you're interested in the transcript itself, you can just go to Google and type Ropecon, that's Ropecon 2009 transcript, and you will end up on the organizer's blog where it's posted the whole transcript of the decks, if you're interested in the game itself. This is just numbers.
So from that transcribe you single out actions and available actions.
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, you can just walk us through and explain what we're looking at.
Yeah, I did this by going through the, as you said, going through the transcript and counting the amount of available actions each player had each turn. That is, counting untapped minions, and if they played a Freak Drive or a Majesty or a bot or any cards that untap them, that gives them an additional available action. So 2 Freak Drives and 1 minion is 3 available actions. And I counted those. And then I counted how many of those they actually use for taking actions. So each player and each turn has 2 numbers. One is the number of available actions and the actions they actually took. And then I will also single out hunt actions.
Okay. So why have you done this, Adam?
It's purely academical from us to see how this turned out, and it's, as you talked about, or as you said earlier, it's about action management, how much you use your actions for anything really, or for this statistic thing, it's for anything except hunting, how much that affects the results, or yeah. And the most interesting number, of course, which we'll be referring to, is this one here. That's the percentages of non-hunt actions taken.
The biggest number on screen.
Yeah. So here we have 100% of all actions available were taken by Pauli, and I took 65.8% of my actions available.
Yeah, we should probably mention that Adam was in the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and also you could talk about how much how your hunt actions do you, or help you, or don't help you, of course.
What?
Hunt actions were you talking about? What was your point?
No, I was just trying to answer the question of why we did this Excel.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Okay. So
I'm throwing it back to you.
Yeah. So I'm taking it over. So yeah, you have calculated the actions and single out the non-hunt actions and actions. Why have you done this? What does it show, Isak?
This shows in pure numbers a thesis of sorts that we've had for a very long time in our playgroup, that you have actions in each turn and you need to take them, and if you don't take actions or take hunt actions, that is essentially a wasted resource. Like throughout the game you have a certain amount of actions available to you. There are some,
like for example here Adam had 38, or is it 39?
38.
38 available actions.
Yeah, and he used 26 of those, or 25 of those for non-hunts. Yeah, and that's because the hunt action, and this is, you only gain 1 blood from it. So you gain a little, but it's very little.
It's the worst action in the game.
Yeah.
There are some action cards that are worse, but you're probably not going to include them in the game or in your deck. So yeah, it's the worst action you can possibly take, or reasonably take.
So what does this imply? Your thesis is what, Adam?
No, it's just the reason why we singled it out. Why we're not considering hunt actions is because it's so weak. All the other actions have a lot higher potential of being strong. So it's more interesting to talk about the non-hunt actions.
But the thesis we have is that the more actions you take, the bigger your chances of winning are. But the actions is the core of the game, and action is what makes your prey go away, and then your next prey, and then your next prey.
And also in a blockish kind of deck, it makes you be able to block better if you get an intercept equipment, for instance, as well.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And the action could be a rush if you're playing a rush deck, or it could be a political action if you're playing one of those deck, or if you're aiming for getting a lot of embraces early on, you gain actions by that.
There's a good parallel between this resource and if you're talking about pool as a resource, is that most players agree with that you want to use your pool as much as possible. You don't want a lot of unnecessary pool just sitting there being not used. So most people will transfer down to like 10 or 15 pool for the first minions. And the same kind of goes with actions. You want to use your actions, even if it's not like the ultimate goal might not be to act, say in a block deck. The ultimate goal is not to act, but it's a resource. You should probably use it for something, anything, and it will make your deck be more like well-functioning and do more stuff.
So the main logic behind it is that you try to have your percentage of actions taken, of actions available, as high as possible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
And you single out the hunt actions because it's mostly a waste of action.
Yeah, like the gain of 1 blood is mostly just a waste of action. Like, there are very few times those times the hunt action actually helps you are so few in the grand scheme of things. So, like, that's a margin of error, is it called that? That you have to live with. Well, within this thesis of limits, as you can see from the stats, the number of actions. This is an unusually long game. It's a 15-turn game, but the actions is between 30 and 50 actions. And all depends on the kind of deck you build, and you have to try this out with several decks to get a good average. But if you have in your mind that, say, your average deck has 40 actions in a game, then you have to consider those 40 actions. What are they going to do? How many of them are going to do direct pool damage? How many of them are going to be setup actions, like getting a bowl of convergence or doing govern down superior, that is. Some sort, and how many of them will be wasted, so to speak. If you look at your deck list and you single out your action cards, how many of those are worth 1/40th part of your action pool for one game? Is this getting too theoretical?
I'm with you, but I mean, still, these statistics doesn't show how many of the actions have been blocked and how many actions have actually went through. Is that why is that?
Well, I think this statistic can actually only tell you how much of an effort you've made in a game. So, in some cases, someone might try really hard to oust their prey, but it's gonna be really hard because, say, the prey is a block deck and you're playing stealth bleed. It's probably gonna be hard no matter what you do. But if you take more actions percentually, you will at least be trying harder, and of course, trying harder makes you more having a better chance of winning.
Okay. You could make another statistics where you take the same basic idea and then you count the amount of blocks different decks do during a game. Like, if you do this with enough games, you can start to calculate, like a medium dedicated block deck, say block, I don't know, just on the top of my head, block 10 actions. And then you have that in the back of your head when you build your deck and when you face another block deck, that if I just can get past these 10 blocks, or whatever the case may be, then I have, say, my other 25 or so actions left. So I have more actions than my prey has blocks, for instance. So you could like do further research if you had the what is called
data.
The data. Yeah.
But this thesis that the high percentile of actions you actually make? Is it actually viable from this one game? Can you draw conclusions from the statistics of this game to the game whole?
I don't. Probably not scientifically or statistically. It's just one game, so it's anecdotal. But it's also, this reflects my experience with the game. Lots of games are. It comes down to if you're forced to stay untapped. Say you have a really bad draw with your deck, and you're forced to stay untapped, or you're forced to hunt. That's really going to put a stop to how well you're going to be playing that game, or how well your deck will be functioning. So it's of course it's anecdotal, but it goes really well with my experience with the game, and I presume with yours as well.
Yes.
For me, this makes perfect sense. I know there are a few other finals that I've seen or participated in that have transcripts, so it'd be cool to do this with a few other games and see where. But for me, the most interesting part is not that a high amount of taken actions during a game, that non-hunt actions taken, is good for you. That's a logical imperative, in my opinion. But the most important part, or exciting part for me, is the deck building side of this. That if you know how many actions you have available during a, like, probably 15-turn game is very rarely happens, but say a 12-turn game, how many actions do I have available during that amount of time? And how many actions cards are there in my library? So if I only have 25 actions available during a 12-turn game with my deck, 25 actions, and I put 32 action cards in my library, the math doesn't work out at all. So those parts where you can look at the numbers, for me, at this point, it's just a gut feeling. And I guess most Vitus players the same, like, these are too many actions, or these are too few actions. But if you can make math out of it, you can make it even more efficient.
We should probably point out at this point, this match was actually won by Adam, which had the highest percentile of actions taken of the actions available. I'm not saying that that would be a statistical truth, that always someone who takes the most actions of the available do win, but it's maybe something to point out. It does.
I think it actually...
Or am I wrong?
I think it's a measure of how good the deck is, to be, like, my opinion. Because
how efficient.
Yeah, exactly. Because most people will probably, not exactly identically the same, but most who is reasonably experienced in the game will take a deck and play it similarly.
Yeah.
So someone else who might be playing my deck in this game might have done 24 actions or 26 actions, but it'll be close. And I think it just comes down to show that my deck was more efficient. I was able to tap out more because I had the correct amount of wakes that I needed, and I had sufficient strong actions on my hand at the moment I needed them.
I have a question as well, or I'm the one asking the question, so I don't even know. Whatever. You single out the hunt actions, as we said. Is it better to stay untapped or to hunt as a general? Can you make any...
I think the choice is false. There's always the third option to bleed for one.
Well, it's... I think it often comes down to whether or not you're blocked or not. If you know that your prey is going to block you if you bleed for one, then you might be tempted to take a stealth action, say hunt, and get one blood. But I think it just comes down to, do I need the defense of staying untapped? No, then I hunt, because it's a gain. It's a really small gain. It's the smallest gain available in the game. But if you don't need the defense, you might as well take a hunt action. But in any case where the defense is like you need defense or you might need defense, it's always better to stay untapped, I think, because blood it's fine most of the time.
Yeah, but the biggest point I think is that you need to go back to the drafting table. Like, you have to or especially if it happens consistently and often, then you have to go back.
You shouldn't make any decision from a single game. You can get Pentex the first turn.
Yeah,
maybe
yeah,
make
you can
any
be
actions.
incredibly unlucky as well. But if you constantly end up with no action cards available in your hand, and you feel that the best thing you can do is hunt, then you probably have too few action cards compared to the number of actions you have available.
Or you have lots of cards that are hard to cycle, and you can't get to the cards that you need.
Yeah, that could be. That's a very good point. Anyways, for me, that sound, if it happens consistently, it sounds like something that can be solved at the deck building stage.
I think the biggest applications are deck building ones.
I would say that one argument against this reasoning, that the highest percentage of actions taken is usually the best. If you do only really strong actions in just a few, and then I don't know, stay on tap per se, or hunt. Like if you only do 12 actions that are non-hunt actions, and 6 of them is governed and aligned superior, and then 6 of them is governed and aligned inferior, and you bleed for 6 every one of those, you can easily win the game with just 6 actions, and just staying untapped and playing deflections or hunting for one, and just to seem for like tapped out, and then if you catch my drift.
Yeah, I understand what you mean, but I think the counter argument is, isn't it always better to not take those like non-acting rounds? Isn't it always better to just act from the start all the way until the end of the game?
But if you're playing a Vignes deck, you don't want to bleed too much before. Maybe you want to do a double oust or something like that.
Yeah, this is of course the reason why it's hard to analyze something just from one game.
But I don't think that necessarily 100% is the end goal, but it should be very high. Like if you follow, because as you said, the Vignes deck or the play style where you wait and let people, so to speak, damage themselves by transferring or buying equipment and some such, is a very viable strategy. But then you get a dip in actions. Maybe on turn 5 you only do one governed superior, and then nothing else. But another thing about the Vignes example is that if you are in that situation where you don't want to bleed, you might as well build, in my opinion. That is, do some govern down, or maybe do something preemptively, like playing a mind numb superior.
But isn't a hunt also a build in the Vignes deck? If we're just taking this example to its extreme, because you have already wasted some blood, and blood is a real resource when you're bleeding with dominate.
If it's part of your strategy from the deck building phase to take some actions which gains you blood, I think you should include restoration in the deck, because that will make you more efficient.
Or in my opinion, like blood management issues is best solved in the master slots. There are a lot of very good cards to gain blood: Lily's Blessing, Life in the City, Giant's Blood, the Coven, and maybe even Blood Dolls.
Don't say Procurer.
That's not a master card.
And it's also a blood loss card. It's not a blood card.
So those cards, I think that is a better strategy, like when you build a deck. So, okay, I do need extra blood after I've done my initial governs. I can gain that blood through master phase actions, and that frees up minion phase actions. Now I freed up minion phase actions. What can I do with my minion phase actions? This turn 5 or maybe turn 6, where I want to take it slow, I could do an additional or 2 additional govern superior.
Or just bleed for 1. You don't have to always bleed so hard.
Or stay untapped and be extra safe.
That's what I mean. Yeah, you can stay untapped, but then you get to go down the percentage of actions taken of actions available.
But you have to make like a cost-benefit analysis each time you do that, because like sometimes I get really surprised that people so easily waste actions on very weird things. Like, actions are very, very scarce. Very important to get right all through the game in order to win. And the earlier the action is taken, the greater impact it has on your game and the game as a whole. Like, we see these statistics, we see that through the course of the game, each player gets more available actions. Start up at 0, obviously, and then get 1, 2. And in the end, there's between 4 and 5 between them. The three lost players. So, and then taking an action on something of the weirder kinds, say hunt for 1, just has less of an impact because it's fewer percentage of the available actions you have for that particular turn.
All this kind of assumes that you have good actions in your deck, of course. The actions you take, it shouldn't be like, I presume
Guard
there's
duty.
Sorry?
Guard duty.
Yeah, exactly. There are cards that are worse than a hunt for 1, but if you include good actions, it's a lot better to take those actions and then play Life in a City, for instance.
Okay, so if we had now have concluded that a certain amount of percentage, 60 plus 70 maybe, of actions taken is good, of the actions available, how should I take this knowledge and how should it affect my game, Adam?
Something that's quite interesting is actually when I played this game, I felt I was being really, really slow and patient and yeah, like just taking it easy. There were several rounds where I felt like, okay, I'm doing nothing, I'm doing nothing, I'm doing nothing. So I actually think if I got to play that deck in most other tables, I would have a lot higher than 65%. I can't, I don't have any stats for that. I don't have the data, so I can't tell you that for sure. But other than just your how you're used to playing your deck, and you can feel that you're doing fewer actions or more actions than regularly, I don't think it should affect your decision making that much in game, if that's what you're asking. Because the deck building side is it has lots of implications for deck building, but I think during any given turn you should be doing the most efficient actions available to you.
Yeah, that's actually a very, very good point. Like if you have your turn, you have to decide, I have 3 actions, what's the best thing to do with them. And this having the good actions in the first place when it's your turn is the deck building question rather than an in-game consideration.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so how should I take this knowledge and affect them to my deck building, Isaac?
First off, get good actions in your deck. Don't do guard duty. It's not good. That's one part, but it's kind of obvious. The second part, I'd say, is make sure that the amount of available actions are at a level that's at the same level as the expected amount of actions you will be taking.
For instance,
so not too many and not too few, like perfectly balanced.
in this game, it was quite close, the duel, I should say. I managed to win with 25 actions, and Antero almost won with 26 actions. So that might be a good number. I think I will need to do 25 actions to kill by prey. I don't know.
At least if you play Dominate, because both you and Antero play Dominate, and that could be worth mentioning.
Well, I think that this is actually just purely hypothetical, but given how most decks are balanced, like how most good decks defeaters are balanced, there's not one that's really a lot better than others. I think that it could be the case that a block deck or a rush deck, which would be equally efficient with their actions, would be doing the same amount of actions. Like the strength of getting a bowl of convergence or the strength of rushing someone's vampire could be equivalent of a bleed for 6. It wouldn't surprise me at all.
Yeah, could be so. Could be so.
Have to have some more data on that.
Yeah, it's purely speculation. But
Yeah, but what you said is having the perfect amount of action cards compared to how many actions you're expected to take. And
also the card cycling to support that amount of actions, because you can't have a deck with only actions. You need reactions and modifiers and masters as well. So you need probably need some card cycling options, or have a really streamlined deck to make that amount work.
Yeah. And I think the most important lesson is don't waste an action.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Another thing I just want to mention about this, if it's okay, is that say that 25 actions is the ideal amount of actions you need to take in order to win a game. Those 25 actions can't be of the build-up kind only. Like say, you can't have 25 allies that only they don't go towards you ousting. Say getting 25 hellhounds or something like that.
It's not I think that goes under the category of not a good action.
Yeah, but I can't come up with any really good example, but there are a lot of actions that are good in build-up, like getting some equipment. Equipment is probably a better illustration of my point. Like having 25 equipment cards, whether they cost pool or free or not, if you only use the whole game getting those equipments for your vampires, those are good equipments probably, but they don't do anything towards the strategy, the main goal of Vetus, that is ousting your prey and then your next prey and then your next prey. So the majority of those actions should go towards that goal. But as we all know, the build-up actions are very, very important as well.
Yeah, but those actions could be, as Adam pointed out, getting a bowl of convergence can oust your prey as well. So
yeah, I think that's actually a good point to talk about, is how actions should be multifunctional. Let's see, I'll bring up bowl of convergence since we're talking about it so much. Bowl of convergence is ostensibly defensive, but in a block deck you're going to want to block your prey and put him in torpor and just hinder him from building or surviving or whatever you want. And the same, I bring up Governor down the line as well for the same reason, because it is a build-up action, but it's also an ousting action. These are the kind of actions that are really good with the decks that are built for them. They are almost never wasted, but one kind of build-up action that you might be tempted to include, which is probably not going to help you oust, is what's it called? Light intensifying goggles, which is a maneuver. It's like, why would this be in a deck? How does it really help you? Is it a strong action? So that's something to consider as well. You want actions that are multifunctional and go well with your strategy.
Yeah. Like just not only to name drop like dominate cards, the Deep Song is a really good example of something that is in the same ballpark as Governed Online. Because when it's time to oust, like if you have 5 or 6 animalism, you will bleed for 10 or 12, which is a lot for a rush deck. But then you can abuse this card. I've seen deck lists where there's almost 20 of these in the deck. So you get to rush everything you want to rush, and then you use the rest of them but just for bleeds. So if you find a good duality in discipline cards, that's why discipline cards usually are a lot stronger than non-discipline cards, because a lot of them have 2 different effects, so one card gives you 2 options rather than one card giving you 1 option.
yes. Okay. So how we were talking a little bit earlier about block decks, and we talked about Bold of Radiance, and how does this affect you when you're playing a block deck? Because you're obviously not taking as much actions as a bleed deck, or Adam?
Yeah, which I think is a common misconception when building a block deck, is that you want to stay untapped. And because of my experiences with this, the action, how action usage affects your results in games, I don't think a blockish kind of deck should take less actions, because it's like if you compare a wake, say Isoagus, with taking an action, you could have 90 wakes in your deck, but it's really unreasonable to have more than, say, 50 actions. And these actions could be done, like, it's a joke, what's called, it's a wild card of resources. An action, you can do lots of different things with an action. It gives you lots of options. You can build up, you can be aggressive, you can be defensive, or you can stay untapped and block. But the wakes only give you the option of staying of blocking. So using wakes for blocking and using your actions for everything else will make you be able to do more stuff throughout the game. So I think a block deck should include lots and lots of wakes, and at least in the deck building stage, not rely on being untapped. You should, in your mind, think to yourself that you will be waking when blocking, and you will be building up or starting bleeding early.
Should you?
With a block
Yeah.
deck.
Yeah. Should you? Can you take okay? So how many actions am I supposed to be able to block? Like, I want to block 30 actions during a game, and then put in 30 wakes. Is that something to think about, or what are we talking about, Isaac?
Yeah, maybe. Usually when I build a really dedicated block decks, they end up with somewhere between maybe 20 and 25 wakes. Usually they multifunction as intercept as well, but that's by Spider's point. So that is probably very true. But what Adam says is very, very true also, that you should not consider wasting an action for a block. That is usually a bad trade-off. Though, when you end up in the 3-player game or the 2-player game, you probably will have brought up enough minions so that you don't lose as much with leaving 1 or 2 of them untapped for blocking. So maybe you maybe have 6 or 7 actions, ideally, when you're in the heads up, and you can use 5 of them for bleeding, I don't know, stealing back the rack you just lost, or removing Pentex or some such, and you can leave 1 or 2 guys untapped, and that way use your wakes primarily for the early and mid game, and in the end game rather rely on permanent intercept and staying untapped, because by then you probably have drawn enough to be able to equip them.
Yeah, okay, so hopefully we will get people start taking notes of final tables a little more accurate, something like that, and we can have more statistics like this, and probably make some more headway in this really exciting area of statistics. But yeah, until then we will leave the statistics behind, and in the next part we will do a case study of how to make a deck a little bit more action efficient, and we will talk about a card that also makes your deck more action efficient, which is Enkil Cog. So yeah, stay tuned to our next part, and we'll see you in a little while. Goodbye.
Ja.